and welcome to Home 2.0, and we are the Hampton Privé team. I'm Kim Kakerbeck, and this is Tim Burch and David Tenenbaum.
Thanks, Kim.
Yeah, and today we are going to be speaking about investment properties and how do you deal with an investment property, strategies, choosing an investment property. We are based in the Hamptons. We see a lot of people thinking about buying investment properties in the Hamptons, and we're asked questions all the time about it. So hopefully we can shed some light on tactics and smart moves and things not to do.
Absolutely. Thanks, Kim.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let's define the investment strategy. Like, why would somebody want to get in let's say, a second home, to use it as an investment property?
Well, listen, I really feel in our market that people want to invest in real estate. They have money in the stock. They have money in the stock market. They have money, invested in different kinds of funds, and so it's a good way to kind of spread out your
diversify,
money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so in our market, it's a place we are totally tied to New York City. Not everyone's from New York City, but I would say that the lion's share is. And so the markets are tied together, and it's a place where it's close enough for people to enjoy and use as a second home, but of course cash out on the investment and rental aspect of that property.
Right, because you really can use it for both. I think what we're talking about anyway is being able to do a short-term rental, usually during a prime season, wherever that market may be, whether you're investing in Florida, or the Hamptons or a ski resort.
Aspen, right?
Yeah, exactly. If you rent during those prime months, in many cases, a short-term rental like 2 or 3 months can pay for all of the expenses of the home for the entire year, and you can even end up with some money in your pocket in some cases. So that's really what the investment is. And then, of course, there's the equity that goes along with buying. It is investing your money. It's like, maybe you're moving money from a mutual fund or something, or a stock market to real estate because of the equity that you get from buying real estate. Those are probably the two most important things that you want to consider when you're looking at investment properties.
So when somebody's looking to buy the investment property, what do you think they should really kind of drill down on? Is it location? Is it rentability? Is it what they think the house is going to be worth down the road?
I really think it's a combination of all those things. First, you got to look at budget and how much of an outlay you want to spend, and then look at the markets, look at the neighborhoods that you can get the most value for.
Right.
And, I'm working with an investment buyer right now, actually. I've taken her out 3 kind of consecutive weekends. She's going to buy a property.
So let me just ask you, is she buying the house to use it at all? Or
no,
she
probably will use it,
okay.
But it's mostly so she wants, and I will tell you that more bedrooms will get you more dollars, and so you can have 2 houses at the same price at the same. One's a 3-bedroom, one's a 4-bedroom, but the 4-bedroom is probably going to command a little bit more money.
Yeah.
Right.
And again, I definitely think that, it comes down to location, and then it also comes down to how that they furnish that house, which is a totally different story. But, I do think location is people are very location sensitive wherever they go. Whether they go to a ski resort, they want to be able to walk to the mountain.
Right.
Or, when they go to our market, they want to be close to water or close to a town.
Yeah, I think. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
But then sometimes you have people that want complete privacy. So, there's different value and different value attached to different qualities of a second home property.
Right. And I was going to add to the location. I mean, I think the first thing somebody has to do is, if they're considering buying an investment home, is figure out, the big geographic location. Like, as we said earlier, where do you want to be? Beach, winter vacation place, ski resort, that kind of thing. Then once you get there, then you have to zero in on the location you want for that property, whether it be like David was saying, within close proximity to the village, if it's something completely secluded and quiet and away from everybody else, if it's close to a beach or close to a ski resort, that's those are the elements that then if you're using it as an investment, which we're talking about, that's what the tenants are going to look for. So you have to buy something that you enjoy, that then that a tenant's going to enjoy all of those amenities as well. So, I mean, I think location is probably one of the most important
Right. And
factors.
going along with location, if you're you're the owner of the home, you want to be able to get to that house pretty regularly to check on it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can hire all the people you want to go and check, and property managers and handy people, but if you're not putting your own eyes on that property on a regular basis, that's an issue.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, we all know that houses need maintenance, and an investment property is no different than a primary residence. Mm-hmm. And so, to have easy access is definitely key.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about the maintenance of the home and what is entailed with keeping the house up and running. You don't want to defer maintenance. You want to keep it, top notch all the time. Let's talk about the different aspects of that.
Right. Well, again, you're buying a property that other people are going to be using, and they're going to want the comforts and the just to know that everything is working properly when they arrive at a house and while they're staying at a house. And that includes, the things that you see and the things that you don't see, really. The mechanicals of the house. Is the air conditioning working properly if you're, in a vacation climate, like the beaches, that kind of thing. If the pool's operating correctly, if, everything has to be working.
Serviced on a regular
and everything,
basis.
Exactly. Everything's serviced on a regular basis. If you've got a pool, your pool company's coming weekly, your lawn company's coming.
Your furnace is being cleaned
That's
every
being cleaned,
year.
right?
Your
Housekeeping
AC.
services as well, even something as basic as that, depending on how long they'll be there. A tenant may, use your housekeeping services, or you can even sometimes write into the lease that the tenant will use your housekeeping services, because you want to know that somebody is coming in and cleaning the house during the stay, and they also are eyes on you, on the house for you.
Very good
they
point.
come in, they can come in, every other week or every week to clean the house, and they can see how the tenant is really living.
Because they know the house.
Yeah, and they can see how the tenant's living. So I think maintaining it is of the utmost importance, and they have to be completely comfortable and make sure and know everything is working when somebody walks through the door. And the other, and again, if Kim mentioned, if you don't live close by, then you have to have a team of people that can take care of all of that for you. Whether you manage them all or you work with a property management company that has the list of those people, because things happen during a stay. Dishwasher breaks. I mean, how many times have you heard dishwashers breaking? I've been doing this 15 years, and I probably had 10 different rental houses that have had dishwashers, break. So you have to have somebody available right away to come in and get that taken care of. Those are just examples of how the maintenance has to stay.
Right. And the property manager is critical. I don't think you can own an investment property and not have a property manager. And I see homeowners trying to get away with this all the time because they don't want to pay. I mean, the last I heard, it was like $400 or $500 a month. I don't know what you guys are hearing.
Yeah, it's about that. And then it kind of goes up from there, depending on, you have property managers that are just one-off, and then you have property management companies that will do all the accounting and pay all the bills and, regulate all of the service providers. And so there's an accounting cost on top of actually managing the property as well.
But the key is to have eyes on the house at all times.
Yeah. And that property manager is going to visit the house at least once a month.
At least.
In the winter, it's more often because you get
listen,
into the frozen pipe situation.
Right. And
which
then
is a
the
big
amount of
deal.
snow we had this year,
Yes,
this year alone, it's just... Trees were down, people had collapsed roofs. It's, there was so much snow And driveways needed to be plowed, and there was a lot of damage from our 2 big snowstorms this year.
Mm-hmm.
So
and even if you only live 2.5 hours away in New York City, it's an entire day for you to get there and back just to look at it. That the best money you can invest is to have somebody that's really managing it for you. And just making sure. I mean, I had a house where, the 2 days after the storm, we were sent pictures of, the trees that came down in the yard, and then, the landscapers were coming out to take care of that, when they could get through the snow. But it's just, you wouldn't know that if you waited 3 weeks and finally drove out when the weather got better, and boom, there you were. Like, you couldn't get in your driveway because there was a tree across it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So getting back a little bit to the investment portion and not so much the managing. Mm-hmm. I know we talked about location, but let's talk a little bit more about identifying the property, like from a financial standpoint. Do you think somebody should push their budget to go for that extra special property? Should they play it safe and kind of like do something a little middle of the road? Because if you do that middle of the road thing, you're potentially getting a property that may not be as attractive. And maybe if you need to get out of the property, like selling it, maybe you're not in such a good position.
Let me speak to this. I feel to go on the more kind of conservative side and not to push it. Mm-hmm. First of all, if you're borrowing money, and we're just looking at talking money on an investment property, you're looking at an extra half a point to a full point of an extra interest rate.
Which we will get into that.
Right.
We'll get into that in the next segment. Yeah.
But I'm telling people that are looking for investment properties is try to find a house that you can add value to, right, and easily add value to, right? Listen, all properties, especially in our market, seem to be just going up year after year. Mm-hmm. But, for example, I'm showing a small house that has a brand new 6-bedroom septic. So that house is ripe to add value to. You already gotten the septic system in place from the previous owner. Mm-hmm. So, it's easier to up your bedroom count.
Yeah, explain the septic, because a lot of people probably don't understand how that works.
In our market, bedroom counts tie back to the septic size, and it does.
It's not bathrooms.
Yeah, you can have as many bathrooms as you want, but pretty much the septic dictates how many legal bedrooms that you can have on
the capacity of the septic.
So, this one case I'm talking about was a tiny 4-bedroom house, but it has a brand new nitrogen-based septic system for a 6-bedroom house, and so she can add on a second story on this ranch house much more easily, and have finish the lower level and put down a bedroom down there, and bam, you have a 6-bedroom house that has a higher rental value,
more attractive.
Yeah,
right. And I think also what's really important is when you start to run the numbers on something, and there's no exact science, but you want to make sure with what your annual costs for the house are going to be. If you're planning on renting it for the short term, then hopefully 2 months, like July and August for us, which are the big months, those 2 months should cover your costs for the entire year. You can go deeper into that, but that's when you've got a good property. Mm-hmm. And you can do comps, and we can provide comps of similar houses that have rented for similar prices, or maybe the house that they're looking at has a rental history. I think that's one way that when you're investing for investment, you want to make sure those numbers work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that, having that rental history.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Okay, so that's a nice flow. I think we've covered a lot. We're going to take a little break, and we're going to come back, and we have a couple more topics on investment properties.
Hi, I'm Dylan Pachulik, CEO of XL Real Property Management, New York's most trusted name in luxury property management since 2012. We specialize in managing individual apartments, townhouses, and rental buildings held by absentee owners. We maintain our properties with the highest standards of quality and service so that owners can choose a hassle-free approach to real estate investing. Rented or owner-occupied, we handle it all. For more information, contact us at xl-rpm.com.
From residential and commercial closings to litigation, Romer DeBoss is your full-service real estate law firm. We blend big firm knowledge with boutique-level attention, delivering outcomes that exceed every expectation. Contact us at romerdeboss.com.
And we're back, and this is Home 2.0. We are the Hamptons Privé team. And here's Tim and David, and I am Kim. And now we're going to, regarding investment properties, talk about capital and what's involved with that. We have a few things we're going to discuss on the little bit of the ins and outs on what you're doing when you're buying a investment property.
So I've already mentioned this briefly that, taking out a mortgage on a second home and investment property, you can expect to pay a little bit more in interest rate, have to put a little bit more of a down payment on.
Right.
So you have to always take that into kind of consideration when running your numbers. And, listen, you have to feel like you have to run the numbers and figure out what you can expect to rent, how often you want to rent it. Do you want to rent it just in the high season? How much money can I get? I always urge and give my clients conservative numbers. Mm-hmm. And if they make more,
the same thing.
Then they make more.
Yeah.
I mean, right?
Yeah.
Listen.
It's not an exact science, unfortunately.
Yeah. And there's not. I mean, I like to use the formula. This is when people ask me, I say a typical, and this is just a rough formula, a typical Hamptons rental will get 4% for the total season, for the total summer season of the value of the house.
Home. Yeah.
And usually it works out to a little bit more, but I like it to be safe. And so that's what I tell people when they ask me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
I think those numbers work exactly right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like I had mentioned before too, like in the short-term market, your rent for a couple of months should cover all of the expenses for the entire year. And then
plus the tenant's paying for all those expenses while they're there.
Right. The maintenance expenses and the utilities are all paid by a tenant during those stays. So those are costs you don't have to worry about. You maybe open the pool and close the pool, but the tenants will be paying the weekly cleaning while they're there.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't realize that.
That saves a lot of money.
Landscaping is taken care of, garbage pickup is taken care of. The electric bill, which can be really big when you're operating a pool.
Propane to run the
to
pool.
heat the pool. Those are all taken care of. So those are numbers that when you're talking to especially first-time investors that they don't know about, and they're always kind of like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Like, that's good to know.
Yeah.
So I think that's really a key thing.
And lenders are going to scrutinize you more if it's an investment property because they know you're not at the home. Mm-hmm. So they're going to be like, well, yeah. So they look at this more closely.
Right. Homeowners insurance is a little more expensive,
Yep.
but obviously you want the best of that you can get.
Very important.
Yes.
Very important. And the tenants that you put in the home have to get a rental policy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. They get a short-term rental policy, which kind of covers them for all of their items, and it can be covered for...
And it holds them liability.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, and liabilities if they get injured in your house. It's all important to have that there.
Yeah, I mean, and I always tell those tenants, like, you can just call your homeowner's insurance policy and add it onto your policy.
Yeah, it's a couple
and that's
$100.
usually the best way to go about it.
It's pretty inexpensive.
Yeah, very inexpensive.
But it's very important to do.
Yeah. And very important for the landlord to make sure that they have that before the tenant checks in.
Yeah, it's in the lease.
It's in the leases,
They have to
but
have
I
it.
don't think a lot of people
check it.
Right,
They don't
see
check it.
that. Okay. Does anyone want to talk about 1031 exchanges? Because that's a big part of doing investment properties.
Sure. So something that's available to all of us is what's called a 1031 exchange. And basically, that is if you have the opportunity to sell an investment property. And for it to be an investment property, it would either have to be something that you've rented. It can't be your primary residence. It can't be the residence on your income tax. And or even a piece of land. And what you're able to do is sell that property and then buy something else with the proceeds of that of that sale without paying a capital gains tax. There's definitely steps behind it. You have one thing is once you close on the property that you're selling, you have 45 days to identify a new property that you're going to buy, and you have a total of 180 days to close on it. But it can be significant to avoid, and what you're doing is you're basically just deferring the capital gain on the property.
Right. Doesn't completely go away.
No, it doesn't go away. You're just deferring it. And I mean, it can start from, I can give an example of somebody who sold a $700,000 New York City apartment that they were renting out to buy a $1.3 million. They sold it for they paid $700,000, sold it for 1.3, bought a $1.3 million apartment in Florida, and then turned around and sold that for almost $2 million and bought a $2 million house in the Hamptons, and they never paid a capital gain all the way. Eventually it will catch up, but if you do it right, maybe just
it just catches up to your kids.
To your heirs, yeah. So it's something, you talk to your accountant.
Yes.
And there's 1031 exchange companies and experts that
attorneys
too,
and
right? It's very inexpensive, by the way. There's no fees involved with it. Just like not a huge fee that to manage you through that process. But you can save hundreds of thousands of dollars depending on which market you're selling in.
Good. Okay, the last thing that we will talk about is minimizing risk when you're renting your property. We talked a little bit about making sure you maintain the property so that minimizes problems. But let's talk about tenants and getting a tenant in the house and what is a proper way to approach that.
Listen, I mean, we're, hopefully the landlords are are charging a experienced agent to lead this process, and we do vet them and suss them out. I like to personally ask for references. Have they rented in our market before? And get a reference from another landlord. That's so key, because you never know. And, most people don't want a share house type of situation with people revolving in and out. And
we can't even do those.
No.
But we do vet that out.
But it kind of sometimes slips through the cracks.
Oh, easily. It can, because there's somebody shows up and they represent that they're the only person renting.
Right, but that's the worst case scenario that can happen. But I like to ask for references. But I do think that the onus has to go back on the landlord too. They have to do some due diligence behind vetting that tenant.
Because we do get, obviously, the names of the tenant before the lease is signed.
Right.
And thanks to the internet, there are ways to...
you can do some social media deep dives just to see, I just want to say, what kind of life somebody may be living in. If there's, videos of them in, these wild parties all over the place, maybe not the person you want to have in your house. And, so, that's just kind of one example. Obviously, that's something for the homeowner to do. We as agents can't really do that except for, the basic peripheral stuff. Right. But I think that's really important.
I mean, and one last thing is I even sometimes have my landlord and that tenant do a FaceTime. So there is
I've done that too.
Yeah.
I have done that too.
I think that was
a good idea.
That's a really good one.
It kind of breaks the ice. It sets the introduction where you're taken out, you're not the middleman.
Yes.
They start this kind of tenant-landlord relation.
They always want us to be the middleman.
Yeah, and which is not always the best. It's,
It can be, it's difficult.
Right.
But it also makes the tenant more comfortable too.
Yes.
Because I think, they're always afraid that they're going to get somebody who's just not going to help them if they have an emergency. Or, I mean, I think if they have a really good feeling about the homeowner, then it's going to make them much more comfortable renting it. They'll have a good relationship, even if, little items do come up and they can get taken care of. And then the goal is, a repeat tenant, and a tenant that's super happy with the house that they can use again.
Yeah, I've had landlords do background checks. Yeah.
Yep.
Which is, I mean, that's...
Especially in
right.
high-end luxury. You want to really make sure that somebody that's coming in is, where you want them to be.
Yeah. Good. All right.
So this is exciting.
So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the takeaways for deciding if you want to do an investment property.
I'm Brian Scott Cohen, one of the top loan originators in the country, and the #1 mortgage originator at Guaranteed Rate Infinity. Guaranteed Rate Infinity arguably has the most advanced tech in the industry. Our completely digital loan process makes it easy and efficient for homeowners, from a 15-minute pre-approval to the digital application and through closing. My team and I would love to help you get into the home of your dreams.
Looking to stage a property but on a tight budget and timeline? Stage with Stage and Fold. Stylish, lightweight, foldable, 3D printed cardboard furniture that looks real. Quick delivery and easy assembly. Staging starts at just $199 a month per room, and setup takes less than 30 minutes. Contact us today to stage smarter, sell faster, save thousands with Stage and Fold.
Welcome back, and this is Home 2.0, and we are the Hamptons Privé team. I have Tim and David, and I'm Kim, and we are going to give you our takeaways for this podcast. Tim?
I think the important thing is to, you have to prepare yourself for being a landlord. And it's a little different than a landlord, who's got somebody living in their house, in a property year round, that kind of thing. It's a short-term situation. But, we talked about having a property management company that can help you with all of those things. But you have to be prepared that you will get phone calls for things that if there's issues, you should have a good interaction with your tenant. You should live near it, as close to it as possible. But just know that you have to be as hands-on as possible. It's not something that just, flows and works automatically. It does take effort. But the effort pays off in that you own this great piece of property that has good equity
Increasing
in it.
in value.
And
Yep.
increasing in value, and you're collecting a nice rent off of it.
And what I like to say, I think my biggest takeaway is when considering this, you have to be mentally ready for it. Are you ready to work with a tenant? But pick a place that you want to go to. And chances are you will have tenants feeling the same way. You want tenants with that same sensibility, right? That are liking your property and liking its location for the same reasons that you like it. So, I'm a firm believer is about location. And if you like the location, chances are lots of other people do too.
My big takeaway for this is running the numbers. If you're going to do an investment property, you really have to do your due diligence and make sure that what you're putting into the house, you're going to get the ROI on. You can't count on always getting a rental. You can't count on the rental getting you the number you thought you were going to get, and you have a lot of expenses. So you really have to do the deep dive and make sure that you can carry this property even if things go wrong. You got to put a new roof on, you got to put a new boiler on, you don't get a tenant. So those are our takeaways. Thank you for joining us on Home 2.0. We hope you found this informative. We look forward to hearing from you. You can reach out to us, and we'll see you the next time.
What do you really need to know about buying or selling a home? First, it's serious business, and it's complicated. There's a lot of money on the table, and emotion too. You need an agent who knows the ropes. So, whether you're buying or selling your home, work with professionals who have a mastery of the craft.